Hi, Brad and Pamela here from Wellness Within, helping you to stress less and thrive. Welcome to video number 10 in our video series on how to reduce your symptoms of stress naturally. In this video, which is part 2 of specific events, the real cause of every issue, you're going to be learning a new technique.
So if you joined us for part 1 of specific events, you learned that as an adult, you're carrying around stress from hundreds of past troublesome events. We all do. And the accumulation of the stored emotions from those events are like a pressure cooker ready to blow off its lid. If you don't reduce or release the valve, the pressure, or in this case the stress, will continue to build and you'll experience all kinds of physical, emotional, or behavioral symptoms. I'll give you a good example, one that shows up a lot for us in our practice. We had a young man who came to us with chronic pain. He had been diagnosed by a doctor and was on medication, had been living with the pain for quite some time. We worked with him on, guess what? Specific events. And we found that in his past, there were some events where he was holding on to some serious anger and resentment. As we tapped away tapped on and released the anger and the resentment to those events, guess what happened?
Pain went away.
The pain went away.
Yeah.
Pain went away, did not return. He's now off medications and is pain-free. So in this video, we're going to introduce you to a tapping technique called Tell the Story. And Tell the Story will help you be specific with specific events, help you release your emotional triggers, and at the same time, release the pressure in your pressure cooker, namely your body.
Okay, so to give you some guidelines so that you can be as specific as possible while you tell your story, here are some just tips that you can use. First off, you want to pick a specific event that you'll tell the story about that lasts 1 to 3 minutes long, and it has one or more emotional peaks. And you want to use the phrase, the time when, and then state the problem or what occurred, not so much the problem, but what occurred. And I felt, what was the emotion? So to give you a couple of examples of that, the time when my buddies wouldn't let me join in the game of marbles and I felt rejected. Or the time when I wasn't chosen to be the lead in the senior play and I felt disappointed. And one more example, the time when I threw up on a roller coaster ride on a date and I was thoroughly embarrassed. So now you have your event and the emotion that goes along with that. You want to give that specific event or that story a title, something that means something to you that will encapsulate the whole story. You'll know specifically what it's all about. And just to give you an example, perhaps we would title those examples I gave. The one would be the marble game, or I wasn't chosen, or that roller coaster ride. So the title just encapsulates everything about that story and keeps you focused. Now, when you have already identified the emotion, what you want to do now is to identify the intensity of that emotion, just thinking about telling the story now. And or as you're telling even thinking about the title. And if it's a 5 or higher, you really want to tap on that, because tapping is a very gentle technique and there's no need for us to push our way through and re-experience the full intensity of that emotion. So very often we tap on the title to get it even below a 5. Next, you just begin telling the story as it occurred, starting at a neutral point where there's no emotional intensity whatsoever, and start telling the story. As soon as you begin to feel a rise in negative emotion, you want to stop. Because what's happened is you have come to an aspect of that story that is holding some unresolved emotion. So we want to tap on that. So you want to identify what that emotion is and tap on it. Once that has come down, then you want to go back to the beginning, the neutral point again, and start retelling the story. And keep on telling it until you come to a negative emotion that begins to peak. Again, stop and tap. There may be another aspect. And you continue doing this until you're able to tell your whole story from start to finish, that 1 to 3 minute long story, without getting any emotional intensity. The goal is that you have the memory. The memory is this event occurred. We can't change that. But what has changed is the emotional zing, the unresolved emotional pieces have been released. So that's how you go about telling the story.
So before we actually do a demonstration, I do want to mention that Pamela had mentioned several examples. And you may think that, well, those examples aren't significant.
Oh, right.
Well, they're significant in the way that there's emotion that's stored in your body, or in this case, her body, that relate to or are the same as current events.
Mm-hmm.
So when current events mimic those old events that have unresolved emotions still stored there, the emotion to the current event is even more intense.
Right.
So it's cumulative over time. So we don't want to downplay the significance of past events that still have an emotional charge.
Right. And then when, like you said, a current event mimics them, what ends up happening is the response that we have is over the top. It's not appropriate to the level of what the event was because of that accumulation.
Okay. So let's do a demonstration.
Okay.
And you had mentioned you had something you would like to work on.
I do.
Okay. So following the guidelines that Pamela gave, we're going to ask the question, do you have an event that if you told it now would last between a minute and 3 minutes?
Mm-hmm, I do. And people may want to tap along with us just to practice more and become more familiar and comfortable tapping.
And we usually want 1 to 3 guideline. If an event lasted longer than that, we tend to look at it as more than one event,
right,
because generally it has more than one emotional peak in it. Okay, so the next question would be, within that 1 to 3 minutes, is there an emotional peak?
Yes.
In that? Can you give that event title?
Yeah, caught singing.
And when you think about, just thinking about that title, Caught Singing, and you think about telling a story, not getting into the detail, what is the emotion that comes up for you?
Embarrassment.
And on a scale of 0 to 10, when you think of that right now, what's the intensity of the embarrassment?
About a 6.
Okay, about a 6. So again, sticking with the guidelines, a 6 is fairly high. So we're going to start tapping on the title itself, which will help reduce any other high intensity of emotion that might be still there. So we like to start with our hand on our heart and taking a deep breath. And feel free to follow along. By taking a deep breath and having your hands over your heart, you're already telling your body it's okay to relax. Tapping on the karate chop. Even though I have this title called Caught Singing, I deeply and completely honor and accept myself. Tap on the top of the head. Caught singing. Eyebrow. Caught singing. Side of the eye. This title, Caught Singing. Under the eye. Caught singing. Under the nose. Caught singing. On the chin. This event called Caught Singing. The collarbone. Caught singing. Under the arm. Caught singing. Deep breath. So of course we want to test, so we're going to ask, when you think of that title, Caught Singing, and think about telling the story, not getting into the detail, what is the level of embarrassment right now?
About a 3.
About a 3. Okay, so being a 3, we're going to ask if you would start telling the story from a neutral place where there is no emotion, and then stop as soon as some emotion shows up.
Okay. I was in the first grade, and I had gone to the lavatory, and I was washing my hands, singing, and I was singing away, and all of a sudden, the door flew open, and there was this dark image of a person in the doorway, and this emotion coming up.
And I'm sensing some emotion. I'm not sensing that it's embarrassment.
No, I was scared. I was scared. And actually, I feel that scaredness now.
Okay, where do you feel that in your body?
I feel it in my heart. I feel it in my heart. I feel a pounding in my heart.
And oftentimes when you have a high emotion, you're going to have a feeling in the body. And it's good to look for that feeling in your body. It's the same energy. So when what is the intensity of that fear?
It's a 7.
It's a 7. Okay. So we're going to start. This is a new aspect now. We had an aspect of embarrassment. The emotion of fear has come up. We're going to go now with the fear. So tapping on the karate chop, even though I have this fear.
And
I feel it in my heart. Right here, right now. I'm safe. Top of the head. This fear in my heart. Eyebrow. This fear in my heart. Side of the eye. All this fear. Under the eye. This fear. Under the nose. All this fear. The chin. This fear in my heart. Collarbone. All this fear. Under the arm. This fear in my heart. You take a deep breath. So Pamela, I'm going to ask, how is your heart doing right now?
It's doing much better. Yeah, it's not pounding like it was. I actually am feeling it in my solar plexus.
Okay.
I feel it's a tightness
in the solar plexus. So
it's
I asked Pamela about her heart rather than going to the fear, because it's the same energy, so we can get the same information. We can get information. This is a form of testing. And it shifted from her heart now to the solar plexus, which is information for us as well. So when you think of the fear scale of 0 to 10, what level is the fear now?
It's a little bit less than a 5, more than a 4, though.
Okay.
Mhm.
So given that there's still intensity, there's no reason for Pamela to start telling the story again. We already know there's still intensity remaining. So we're going to go with that. So hand on the karate chop. Even though I have this remaining fear,
Even though I have this remaining fear,
and I feel it in my solar plexus,
and I feel it in my solar plexus,
right here, right now,
right here, right now,
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
Top of the head, this remaining fear.
This remaining fear,
Eyebrow, this fear in my solar plexus.
this fear in my solar plexus,
Side of the eye, this fear in my solar plexus.
this fear in my solar plexus,
Under the eye, this remaining fear.
this remaining fear,
Under the nose, this remaining fear.
this remaining fear,
The chin, this remaining fear in my solar plexus.
this remaining fear in my solar plexus,
The collarbone, this remaining fear.
this remaining fear,
Under the arm, this remaining fear.
this remaining fear.
Hand over the heart, take a deep breath. And again, I'll start with your solar plexus. How is that fear in your solar plexus now?
It's better. It's better. Mm-hmm.
0 to 10. If you were to give the feeling in your solar plexus a number, what is it now?
Sensation. My solar plexus is gone. It's gone back to my heart.
Okay.
My heart is
Good information. The energy is
Yeah.
moving.
Yeah, my heart is beating again.
So let's tune into the fear. On a level of 0 to 10, what level is the fear?
It's a 3.
It's a 3.
now. Mm.
And a fear of what?
I'm in trouble.
I'm in trouble. So I asked that question. And oftentimes, by asking questions, we can discover new aspects. So we tapped on the fear a couple rounds. By asking fear of what? Fear of being in trouble. Brought up another aspect. So we're going to continue with this, tapping on, I'm afraid I'm in trouble.
I'm afraid I'm in trouble.
And that's it. Well, now when you say that.
Yeah, when I say that, it actually goes up a little. So
Okay.
it's up to like a almost a 5.
Okay. And is it still in your heart?
Yeah.
You're feeling that. Okay. So on the karate chop, even though I am afraid I'm in trouble.
Even though I'm afraid I'm in trouble.
Right here, right now.
Right here, right now.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
Top of the head. This fear of being in trouble.
This fear of being in trouble.
Eyebrow. All this fear of being in trouble.
All this fear of being in trouble.
Side of the eye. Uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
Uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
Under the eye. I'm in trouble.
I'm in trouble.
Under the nose. I'm in trouble.
I'm in trouble.
The chin. This fear of being in trouble.
This fear of being in trouble.
Collarbone. I'm in trouble.
I'm in trouble.
Under the arm. I am really in trouble.
I am really in trouble.
Deep breath. How's that feeling in your heart?
Oh, it's much better. Much better.
And the fear?
Fear's down to fear of being in trouble. Probably down to a 2.
2. Okay. We'll do one more round.
Mm-hmm.
See if we can clear that. Then we'll have you retell the story.
Okay.
So back in the karate chop. Even though I have some remaining fear.
Even though I have some remaining fear.
Just a little bit of fear.
Just a little bit of fear.
Right here, right now.
Right here, right now.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
Top of the head. This remaining fear.
This remaining fear.
Eyebrow. This remaining fear.
This remaining fear.
Side of the eye. This remaining fear.
This remaining fear.
under the eye. This remaining fear of being in trouble.
This remaining fear of being in trouble.
Under the nose. This remaining fear.
This remaining fear.
Chin. This fear of being in trouble.
This fear of being in trouble.
Collarbone. Uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
Uh-oh, I'm in trouble.
Under the arm. I'm in trouble.
I'm in trouble.
Deep breath.
It's just about gone. I don't have any sensation in my heart.
How about solar plexus?
No.
Okay, so let's go back to the neutral part and retell the story to see what, if anything, comes up when you get to that door opening, big
Okay.
person there.
Okay, I was in first grade and I'd gone to the lavatory. I was washing my hands. I was singing a song. I was actually having a really good time. And I was happy. And all of a sudden, the door opens and I see this big shadow of a person in the doorway. Then this woman comes in, who I knew was the teacher that was next door. And the look on her face, and there's a little of emotion right there.
So, okay, so you see this look on her face.
Right.
And what kind of emotion is coming up for you?
It's like, oh, I've been bad. Yeah, what's that emotion? Like, guilt, I guess. Yes, that's what it is. It's guilt. Because the look and what she said, the two together.
So let's look at, so you
Face.
Look at her face. So now we're looking at a new aspect, same event, new aspect, the look in her eye, look on her face, feeling of guilt. Where do you feel that in your body?
I feel that in my heart. My heart is taking a beating right now.
Well, we're helping your heart for the long haul. Okay, and on a scale of 0 to 10, when you see the look in her eye, the look on her face, what is the intensity of the guilt that you're feeling?
That's a 6.
It's a 6. Okay. So tapping on the karate chop, even though I have this guilt.
Even though I have this guilt.
The look on her face.
The look on her face.
The look in her eye.
The look in her eye.
I have this guilt.
I have this guilt.
Even though I have this guilt.
And even though I have this guilt.
Right here, right now.
Right here, right now.
I'm okay.
I'm okay.
Top of the head. This feeling of guilt.
This feeling of guilt.
The look in her eye.
The look in her eye.
The look on her face.
The look on her face.
All this guilt.
All this guilt.
This guilt in my heart.
This guilt in my heart.
That look in her face.
That look on her face.
Look in her eye.
The look in her eye.
Feeling all this guilt.
Feeling all this guilt.
Take a deep breath.
I went down. It went down quickly. I went down to like a 2.
2. And is the feeling still guilt?
Yeah. Yeah.
And is there more to the guilt? Is it the look in her eye, the look on her face, feeling guilt about?
Yeah. What I was doing. Because what she said was, she screamed at me. And it's going up.
Another aspect.
She screamed at me. What are you doing? Ooh, yeah, that's going up. It's up to like a 5.
Okay. Even though?
Even though.
I'm feeling this guilt.
I'm feeling this guilt.
Because of what she said.
Because of what she said.
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
I deeply and completely.
I deeply and completely.
Honor and accept myself.
Honor and accept myself.
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Around all this guilt.
All this guilt.
What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Under the eye. This feeling of guilt.
Feeling of guilt.
Under the nose. She said, what are you doing?
She said, what are you doing?
Chin. What are you doing, you naughty girl?
What are you doing, you naughty girl?
Elbow. All this guilt
All this guilt.
under the arm. What are you doing?
What are you doing?
Take a deep breath.
It's kind of interesting. 'Cause it's like, I'm not doing anything wrong.
What's the intensity of the guilt?
I don't feel
No,
it.
how about your heart, your
Mm-mm.
solar plexus?
Fine.
Okay. So can we go back to neutral? Retell the story. Look for any remaining emotions.
Mm-hmm. Okay, I was in first grade. I had gone to the lavatory and was washing my hands and singing away and having a grand old time in my imaginary world. And all of a sudden, the door opened, and this big shadow of a person was in the doorway. And then I realized it was the teacher next door who came in, and she had such an angry look on her face, and she just screamed at me, "What are you doing?" And I couldn't even answer her because I didn't have any. I didn't know what I was doing, and
So I'm going to stop you there. So is there any intensity?
not yet. No, no. There's none right
Okay.
now.
So there may be more to this story that we would want to get to,
Okay.
but we're going to end it here. I do want to test one more time, however. In your mind, I'd like you to go through that part of the story and try to embellish the look on her face, the anger on her face, the tone of her voice, and try to call up the embarrassment, the anger, the guilt, whatever was going on for you.
Okay.
Or the fear, not the anger, but the fear.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
While she's doing that, I was just going to mention that testing is so important. We don't want to assume that we've collapsed all the aspects. We want to go back and test. And one way to test is to embellish all of the different aspects.
Nothing comes up right now. No. I don't know if maybe when I go on with this story, there might be more.
There may be more to it. Okay, good.
But for
we'll
this
stop there.
this little section, this specific event,
Good.
no, there
Okay.
isn't any.
Excellent. So to summarize today, you have learned to use tell the story technique to help you release the pressure in your pressure cooker. So practice with tell the story.
Resolving the emotional attachments to past events which impact current situations often can seem to be overwhelming and challenging and perhaps even impossible to do. In our next video, we're going to share with you how you can get help to free yourself from those emotional, physical, or behavioral symptoms that you might be struggling with. So please join us next time. And until then, keep tapping.
Thanks for tuning in.
Thank you. And
Bye now.
bye.